Well, a disappointing outing for Team India. Certainly not a happy Halloween by any stretch of the imagination. New Zealand clinical, finishing off just the way they started with ball in hand. 111 for 2. 14.3 or not, the result never looked in doubt from the minute Martin Guptill and Daryl Mitchell walked out to play, and they played positively from the outset. Bumrah was outstanding again, 4 overs, 2 for 19, but really the Indian bowlers can't be tested in terms of their performance purely based on the number of runs the batsman had put on, which was just 110. Here we are on Cricbuzz Live to try and see what slim chances India still have of mathematically making those semi-finals. They're not eliminated, even though we call it a virtual quarter-final, but the task has become very hard and it's not in their hands. I'm joined by Dinesh Karthik and Zaheer Khan. We'll come to those scenarios in a moment, but first reactions, obvious disappointment, but there was nothing much the bowlers could have done, DK, with that total on the board.
Yeah, most definitely. When we came together at the halfway stage, we were speaking about how slim a chance we got, and it was pretty evident, I think, right at the outset. The first over that Bumrah bowled, 5 out of the 6 were Yorkers, shows how desperate the Indian team were. But, definitely in many ways, obviously, the batting order didn't stand up to what the names are on that list. And that happens sometimes. As I said, it's been a long time on the road, and you could see the pressure got to the team, and it happens. It's just sad that it happened again against New Zealand today.
And it wasn't one of those cases, Zaheer, where the toss ended up becoming the deciding factor. If India had put on 165 and New Zealand chased it down because by the 15th over the ball was too wet, you could have said, okay, the toss made a slight difference. Here, just not enough runs on the board.
Clearly, and so far, Indian team has walked in this tournament as one of the favorites, but couldn't really get themselves going with the bat, and that has been the story so far. So disappointing so far. The batting, the strong batting of Indian team has not come to the party, and hence, I guess is the situation. So you can look at it in many ways. But you got to call spade as spade, and so far the batting firepower of Indian team has not been able to put that total which you are mentioning. Batting first or batting second doesn't matter. It's about scoring that many runs consistently and creating that platform. In this format, we all know the importance of setting the total. Today, batting first, you wanted to get that total to be around, say, 160, even if it's a challenging pitch. You got to have that platform set for your bowlers to go out there and defend the total. Midway through the innings, when you lost wickets, you could see that it is not that kind of a wicket. It's not that kind of a wicket which will show that kind of reading of the scorecard. And that's what we saw once New Zealand came into bat, that they could get these runs in 14, 15 overs. When both the teams have batted on that same pitch, you can judge the pitch correctly. And I think on the analysis part of this game, Indian team will be looking at how they approach the game, what kind of options they took, what kind of situation and the pressure was created, which forced them to play those big shots. So they were definitely chasing that number. You're mentioning 160. I think they were chasing that number of 180, 185. And more often than not, we've seen when you chase that big number, you end up falling short by 30, 40 runs. That's what happened today.
Yeah, probably was the approach. I think that's one conclusion we can definitely come to. It wasn't a 110 pitch. There are surfaces you can't find. There are bowling attacks you find where you just couldn't read a spinner or you couldn't deal with a certain pace. We saw that with Scotland against Afghanistan. They just had no idea what was happening with Mujib at the other end. So you just concede to the opposition. But I don't think, DK, if you look at all those Indian dismissals, there were too many where ball really beat bat. It was a few strokes caught in the deep. That's, I think, where the introspection will have to be.
In 2020, a lot of the times, especially with the Kookaburra ball, it's hard to bowl, beauties, as they would say, on great wicket-taking deliveries. How you pick up a wicket a lot of the times is, swing a ball, get the pressure going by bowling a few dot balls, and then hope the batsman makes a mistake. And that's the trap Indian team fell into. Obviously, they played a few dots, then had to go for the big shot. And every time they played a big shot, they almost holed out and got caught on the boundary. So credit to New Zealanders for creating that pressure. And you got to, as Zach said, sometimes call spade a spade. The Indian team didn't obviously live up to their expectations of a batting unit, but in the same breath, I think you got to congratulate the New Zealanders for playing the quality of cricket that they've played today. Yeah, I mean, we all speak about it being a virtual quarterfinal. They did turn up today and showed why they're one of the better teams going around in world cricket.
Yeah, we also showed the record of New Zealand against India in ICC events. It's not an enviable record from India's point of view, and one more has been added to that list. But I think DK makes a valid point, Zahir, that sometimes as a bowler, you'll see you've got a surface, you've got a situation where you can blast the opposition out. Other times, you'll see, as you said, you have to create the pressure and make them make the mistakes. And I think overall, New Zealand's bowling effort can be probably classified as clever and clinical rather than, overpowering.
Well, this is what you expect from them, isn't it? Every time you see this New Zealand outfit going out there and playing a game of cricket, they keep things pretty simple. So if you approach the game in that fashion, like today's game, I felt was a classic example where all these external factors were playing on Indian team for sure. Be it where they are, be it the magnitude of the match, how important this game is, and they wanted to stamp their authority with aggression and putting up that big total, which virtually takes New Zealand out of the game. So in the process, what's happened is they've fallen short by 40-50 runs, and that is what I'm trying to explain, that no matter what kind of game you're playing, you still got to stick to those basics of the game, right? You got to start well, you got to have that opening partnership, then you build on from there, you set that platform. So in tournaments so far, we've lost 2 wickets in the power play, and that never really helps your cause, right? Like you have that pressure carried through the middle phase of the game, and then someone like Santner and Sodi kind of spinners come in and have a really good day out there, which doesn't help your cause further. I think so that's how the game goes. So the value and importance of starting the game well is very, very important. So you got to tick that box nicely. It doesn't matter which game you're playing, whether it's, if you want to win games of cricket consistently, then it's very vital. If you're bowling first, get those early breakthroughs. If you're batting first, get that opening partnership, or that first wicket, second wicket partnership is so crucial to set the platform.
Yeah, just jumping on the Cricbuzz app to see what Virat Kohli has said. Uh, the words he used, we weren't brave enough when we entered the field, but New Zealand sustained that pressure. I thought we were brutal up front. Those are the words he used. But even before the game started, DK, when we were speculating about the possible combinations of the team, on paper it looked like India had put the right names on the sheet in the right order. We said, look, if Ishan Kishan has to play, he should play up front. What it meant was 3 batters would bat out of position. Whether or not that mattered in the end, we don't know. But at least intent-wise, Rahul and Kishan opening seemed to be the right messages they were sending, at least.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Surya was out with a back spasm, though in that case you had to play Ishan Kishan. I mean, he was the informed batter. He was only one of the backup batters going around, so you had to play him. And they know that if they play Ishan Kishan, the best spot for him was opening. It was kind of Rohit to obviously give it up to Ishan Kishan at that point of time. And Ishan Kishan went out there with the right intent, but even right from the first over, I haven't seen Ishan Kishan, defending the first 4 balls that he's played when he's open. It shows that there was some quality bowling and he was respecting bowl. There was pressure. I mean, that's the thing with when you play for India, and that's what's different from playing for other countries. The pressure is obvious. If the wicket is flat and the ball is not doing much, then obviously our chances are much better up top. But if the ball is swinging and we're giving it a little bit of respect, which is what we did, then when we do try and play the big shots, we need a bit of luck. It happened in that Adam Milne over, but I did think KL Rahul's wicket was at a critical juncture. Just when they were getting momentum, the breaks were put as usual. That's what New Zealand is good at. And after that, they didn't, take the foot off the throat, so to say, and they kept putting pressure on us consistently. It was pretty straightforward of Virat to come and say that, they weren't brave enough. And, that was a common sentiment as well as we were watching it.
He also added that we have to be optimistic and positive and take calculated risks, we have to disconnect from the pressure. He said, yes, we can see even the crowds around us when we play for India. It's something that comes with the process, and we have to play a positive brand of cricket. There's a lot of cricket to play in the tournament. I think this is the point where we need to illustrate exactly where India stand right now. On the face of it, it's extremely tough, but this is where it stands. India still at that bottom position just above Scotland thanks to net run rate. No points yet. Namibia have picked up 2 points from that particular victory. Pakistan look like it's a virtual semi-final spot seal with their matches only against Namibia and Scotland to come. Now, the one scenario, gents, where India can actually qualify for the semi is on the 7th of November. Afghanistan play New Zealand. They need Afghanistan to beat New Zealand, after which India play Namibia in the last game. And once that is over, if Afghanistan have beaten New Zealand, India will then have to beat Namibia by such a significant margin that their net run rate climbs above that of New Zealand, which at the moment is not very healthy. So that's the scenario, Zaheer. Not a happy scenario, and importantly, not in your own hands.
Well, the GB, you got to be realistic. All these scenarios and all that are going to come into play. I'm not denying that, right? But the bottom line always remains that you got to play 40 overs of good cricket to win games of cricket. So that is something which so far in the tournament Indian team has not been able to put together. So I think the first and foremost they got to start with that. I know that potentially you can reach 6 points, but when you look at the remaining three games, I'm just presuming that okay, India goes out there, wins all the games, you're going to get to 6 points. But New Zealand is sitting at this point now, and that's why this game was so important, where they can reach 8 points. So for that they have to beat Afghanistan, yes, for sure, and then Scotland and Namibia. So that those are the kind of games which you're talking about. So really realistically, which means that Afghanistan and New Zealand game is going to be very, very important from India's point of view. And having said this, the bottom line remains that you have to go out there. Net run rate is going to come into play in spite of you winning all the games, because you would expect New Zealand to go out there and win 2 games of cricket for sure from here. So yeah, interesting on paper. It's all going to look good, but we all know that how important this game was from that point of view. I was remembering 2007 World Cup campaign, which I was part of, and it becomes very difficult. It becomes very, very, very hard to cope with when you know that not only you have to play good cricket, but also look at the other results and then be dependent on maybe hoping Scotland beats New Zealand, or Namibia beats New Zealand. Those kind of things. So yeah, it's going to be a tough thing for all the players, but control the controllables. The best thing which is in your hand is still go out there and win games of cricket, and that's what Virat was in that press conference trying to say, that there is plenty of left in this tournament. And that's why I was also mentioning the fact that so far it's been disappointing. Now you have to really play out of your skin and hope that the other results go in your favor for you to qualify.
Yeah, for those who don't remember the 2007 50-over World Cup, yeah, it looked like it was plain sailing. Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Bermuda were the teams in the group. Yeah, okay, no problem. We're going to get through. One banana peel against Bangladesh, and that was it, out of the tournament. Here, DK, I know, as I said, we were trying to paint various scenarios. You said pay due respect to Namibia and Scotland. Let's be fair. India and New Zealand will both get over these two teams. But I still think Afghanistan are the X factor. We, of course, India have to beat Afghanistan on the 3rd in Abu Dhabi. But the last game, or the second last game, New Zealand, Afghanistan, followed by India, Namibia, will be the ultimate deciders.
If you look at the points table right now, Afghanistan has 2 matches left, and one is against India and one is against New Zealand, and they are at +3. So they have to beat New Zealand, which in turn will increase their run rate a little bit, and they have to lose against India very badly, so that India pulls their run rate down. So we're talking mathematically things that would be possible, but if maths was a big factor in cricket, then it would be a pretty easy sport. So I would definitely say that for a start, India need to definitely raise their quality of cricket, be it batting or bowling to an extent. But, obviously we all know that they will get through Scotland and Namibia comfortably, so the run rate will go up. But to catch up with +3, in just 3 games is sometimes not that easy. It's as I said, maths can be a tough subject as well sometimes when you play cricket on the field.
Yeah,
And
well,
also, GB, the challenge here is that if you're saying New Zealand and Afghanistan game is important, and if you're presuming that Afghanistan somehow beats New Zealand, then I think how are you going to catch with the net run rate of Afghanistan, which is sitting at +3, which is going to then even get better.
no,
So
no,
so I
no.
think,
Then Afghanistan will have lost to India by then. So Afghanistan on points will not be a factor.
but India can only reach 6 points, right?
Correct.
And Afghanistan is sitting on 4 points. So if they beat New Zealand, they'll be on 6 points with a really good net run rate.
Fair point. You've
So
just you've
so
just got me on that one.
yeah, so that's the challenge. I think mathematically there's going to be an opportunity, but I think the chances are very slim. When you look at the important game, if New Zealand wins, like India is in a scenario where if Afghanistan beats New Zealand, we might have to catch up a net run rate of say +4 or +3, which is going to be a very very tough ask.
Yeah, well, at the moment, all they can do is control the controllables and play the remaining 3 games. First up is going to be Afghanistan, then Scotland, then Namibia. But in terms of personnel, Zahir, we saw a little bit of Hardik's bowling. So, assuming that he brings that second suit to the table, Hardik Pandya, the batsman, will be one of many who will have to come to the table if India need to get their batting intent right. First, of course, net run rate, then, of course, winning the games.
Yeah, so I mean, you have to give your best shot, and that's what I was trying to explain. That when you are in this kind of a scenario, I could only think of that example of 2007 50 over World Cup in West Indies when Indian team was there. We lost that first game, and after that, the whole sort of permutation combinations and just a miracle which we are hoping for, which will get us through. And control the thing which is in your hand, which is to go out there and put up your best show. You are one of the better teams, and you just have faltered in the first couple of games, but you have to somehow find that inspiration, that motivation. You're still representing your country at the highest level, so you have to go out there and look to win each and every game, and try and work out the scenarios. I mean, I'm just saying that there is no chance at this point. But if you are in that camp right now, you have to figure out and possibly work out every scenario and go chasing that. So that's the best possible chance you can give yourself, and so you should do that.
Yeah, absolutely. One more person we want to talk about, DK, and I'll come to you because you're familiar with him, Varun Chakravarti. Much was expected of him. Similar conditions to which he's bowled in the past, and he's done really well. Was there something you felt? Was it just New Zealand who had maybe done their homework well, or was it the pressure of lack of runs that he had bowled?
Oh, it was definitely, there was very little pressure on New Zealand to play Varun Chakravarti. All they were looking to do is not give wickets of him, and they've kind of achieved that. For a spinner, unless and until there is turn and, the wicket is slow, then you can look to create pressure. Whereas if the wicket is pretty decent, especially with dew, you're bowling with a new ball, the field is up. I mean, bowling 4 overs for 23 on most days as a captain, you would take it. As I said, you cannot buy wickets in T20 like you would in Test cricket. You cannot fault a bowler for bowling 4 overs 23. In Test cricket, you can. If somebody's bowling at a good economy rate, you'd rather have him picking wickets and give away more runs. You're always okay with that. But in T20 cricket, sometimes you have to understand that you don't have a silly point or a short leg or a slip constantly to take those chances or to create those chances. And even if you have those fielders, the single becomes very easy. If you keep giving singles, obviously you feel like your bowling is you're just rotating strike, and it's pretty futile bowling to both the batsmen at all points of time. The 1 over that he did go for runs, I don't think he bowled it well. But apart from that, the other overs, before and after that, he bowled pretty steady. I mean, Bumrah was bowling really well and showed why he was world class again. And, credit to Bumrah. But I don't think Varun Chakravarti, you can fault too much. As I said, as a captain, 4 overs, 23 in a chase where they're going at less than 6 runs an over is a fair call. I mean, it's hard to be hard on that kid.
But the other options that India do have, Zaheer, is someone like a leg spinner that maybe can just do something different from a surface which is not offering that much. And of course, the person we're talking about, again, part of the Mumbai setup, Rahul Chahar. He's got the nod ahead of Yuzvendra Chahal into this tournament if he gets a chance to show his wares and maybe the experience of Ashwin. Are you seeing these as two possible options?
Honestly, I wouldn't even look into bowling. I think the bowling is something which has not costed you anything right now so far in the tournament. It's the batting which has not set the platform. So you just try and identify and address what is it going to take for the players to have the right approach. It's not about changing the personnel most of the times. It's just about finding that right mindset. Finding which gets you going, because these are the players who have won you matches. Yes, two tough games is not going to take anything away from them. What they've done for this team is not going to go away. You just have to find what is it going to take for you to win, and find that formula of success here in these conditions. And now whatever the new dynamics which is going to be there in terms of the net run rate and all those things which are going to be the factors. Now you just have to go back to the drawing board and then say that, okay, fine, this is what the situation is. What is our best chance? And then go looking for whether the current names are capable enough or no. If you don't have, like, if you're defending 110, you can't expect any of the bowlers to play any role, because it makes it that much easier for the opposition batters also to approach and put pressure on your good bowlers, because that the total which you're chasing is not a big total, so you can put them under pressure. So the scenario changes when you have runs on board. The same batters will approach the game differently. Fall of wicket will change the dynamics of the game. So I will right now stay away from analyzing the bowlers. It's not the time for bowlers to be looked at. It's the time for you to figure out what is it going to take in terms of your batting unit to fire. What is it that you can do for them to be in good state of mind? What is it going to take for them to be aggressive, or to figure out what kind of approach will get you to that total which is going to put you in good position to win game.
Yeah, well, we saw that tweet, often tongue in cheek, of course, from our colleague Michael Vaughan. But generally, there's a method to his madness, TK, when he puts out something. And he was saying India are playing 2010 cricket. The game has moved on, and he, of course, has a lot to say about England's approach and following the world leaders. And England certainly have set an example of the aggressive, positive, modern game.
Yeah, he's alluding to the fact that how we batted mostly, and that would mean that right at the top, they have a Roy and a Butler who take on the bowling. Their first intent is to step out or move away and create that boundary opportunity, whereas we play more cricketing shots, try to use wait for the bad ball in many ways, and then put pressure on the bowler. We're more a reactive batting unit than a proactive batting unit, but that's been more. If England is number one, I think India is in the top three as well, and they have a method to their madness, so to say, and they have got consistent results over a period of time doing that. So you can't fault India or their batters or the way they bat to and expect them to change it just because two occasions in the World Cup things have not gone exactly to plan. Against the same England team in the practice game, we pretty much scored 180. We cantered on that chase. With the dew coming in, we did what we did. So, I mean, obviously, I get what he's saying. What he is saying is he's expecting more bravado, more, positivity in terms of the top three going out there and imposing themselves. But we've always been a batting unit. And as I said, we've been a batting unit which is stuck to this method, and it's given them success over a period of time. They've gone to New Zealand, beaten them 5-0. They've beaten England at home. So they have their confidence. They have their methods. When we come to a World Cup, it is very different to a bilateral, and that's what Indian team seems to be having every time they come there. It's about handling pressure, handling expectations, and odd time handling a loss and how they bounce back from that. These are the things that the Indian team need to be very aware of.
Yep. Just one final quick point. I know we mentioned it in the mid innings. We mentioned it on Combox briefly, but I think just to wrap up this whole thing, maybe if one of the things they could have done differently, and I think we all get behind the Indian team and the pressures there, just the body language at times that we saw today, Zaheer. It's just sometimes the occasion gets the better of you. You like to express yourself in the quiet of a dressing room if you want to, but today it was out there for everyone to see.
Yeah, but you wouldn't blame them for that. It's just that when you lose wickets and you are in that uh, game situation, game scenario, you kind of know what's coming at you, and sometimes you don't realize what has hit you. So that is just a reaction of that. In terms of how you approach the game and the pressure, it was very visible. I mean, one thing which I could make out from watching the game on TV was that the pressure what we were talking about and the importance of this game, it was visible on each and everyone's faces. So that shows that when they walked in, and that also shows that this break which we are talking about, which might help Indian team, has not really helped, because the other teams on the table, the pressure of the points table which we often talk about, uh, not often you see the result of that in such manner. But in this World Cup, you have to say that it did play a role. It did play a role when you know that a certain team has ran away from you with the points. It does make a difference when you know that the net run rate is going to come into play. I think for today's game also, they knew that the net run rate is going to come into play. So the approach when you lost the toss and batting first was to catch up on that as well. And I think that's just too much of overthinking. And I keep saying all day today the external factors, but I think you got to just accept that did play a role in this World Cup for sure, in this match for sure.
Yes, it certainly did. And I can tell you, just before we went on air, I interacted with a few fans who had obviously left the ground early. They had come to the hotel. I met them 5 minutes before, and you could see the disappointment, the obvious disappointment, and the atmosphere at the ground. They said there was so much expectation that even them as co-fans could feel it, and they were trying to find a way to tone it down. But DK, at times when you're down like this, are there certain characters in a dressing room? Uh, it could be a coach, it could be a captain, it could just be a player who G you up in moments like this. I mean, we've seen your team come back in the IPL from 2-5 to 5-2. Uh, Mumbai has done it all as well from slow starts and they've come back well. Are there characters? Can you identify someone in this Indian team you think will be the catalyst?
Look, I think it's hard work because they have back-to-back games now. They're playing day after. They're again playing on fourth after that. So it's going to be hard work. There is no doubt about that. But we have one of the most charismatic cricketers and a world leader. A leader, one of the greatest leaders to come out of the world of cricket and in sport in many ways. MS Dhoni there. So you don't need any better help than him. And apart from that, you have Ravi Shastri, who's pretty positive, and he only has good things to say constantly about Indian cricket and the Indian cricketers. So, you have positivity there. But when you go back to a room, you're all by yourself, and you'll be asking a lot of questions to yourself, and you'll be dealing with a lot of inner demons, so to say. And those are the tough ones to deal with. And it can be a bit of a slippery slope in a tournament like a World T20, because the games come thick and fast, and there are a lot of results happening around you. And maths is pretty easy in a classroom. At times it can be tough there as well, but controlling it through a cricket match can be way tougher. So we have a back against the wall, and in many ways, I just wish that people watching all the supporters of India understand and are in many ways kind to the Indian team, because when they left the Indian shows, it was on May 19th. And as we sit here and speak today, it is closing in on November. So, they've been on the road for about 6 months now, and every match they play, starting from the World Test Championship final, the India vs England series, and they come back to an IPL. They've been on the road for a long time, and every day has been pressure filled. I do hope that people cut them some slack, have some empathy, and realize that they're human beings as well, and pressure gets to you no matter who you are. And the social media is a kind of place in the next couple of days for the Indian team.
I think that was perfectly put by Dinesh Karthik. We really hope that. I know the fans here certainly feel that way, the few that I've met right here in Dubai. But there was another game earlier. One of the teams in India's group that we talked about will be competing for that semi-final spot, Afghanistan, who made short work of Namibia. Dinesh Karthik's prediction that Namibia wouldn't reach 100 came true. 160 for 5, commanding position by Afghanistan after winning the toss and batting first. And Namibia just never could cope with either the early spin, but strangely enough, 6 wickets going to the pace bowlers of Afghanistan, Zaheer. And I think if you look back at that game, Mujibur Rahman wasn't playing. We all asked, would it make a difference? Well, it didn't. Rashid came, he did his little bit. 6 wickets to Hamid Hassan and Naveen ul Haq.
Yeah, it was advantage Afghanistan, and for sure with Navinul Haq's slower ones as well, the change of pace which he bowled so well wasn't going to be easy. So Afghanistan right now, when we are looking at that team, they know what their game plan is. They stick to their game plan. Today Mujib was not there, so Rashid was brought early in the attack, and that was the right approach. They got wickets from the word go, which helped the cause of defending. And we've seen with Namibia also against Scotland, even with a smaller total, they were very cautious. So those demons were going to play in their minds while they were choosing a relatively bigger total. And Afghanistan, for sure, they have that confidence in someone like Rashid or their seamers, the Hamid Hassan factor, the experience did came to party today, which was great. Asghar Afghan, the emotional match for him, his contribution, so there was enough motivation also for Afghanistan to go out there today and perform. The great servant for Afghanistan cricket, his contribution surely, and the way he spoke as well about how he looks at things, and he feels that even though he's just 33, I think he's certainly got few years in him to play competitive cricket, but deciding on giving a chance to someone else so that he will have more time in evolving as a cricketer is a very, very noble gesture from him towards Afghanistan cricket.
Yes, and he got a wonderful send off from his own team. And when he came onto the field, a guard of honor from the Namibian team. Naveen ul Haq dedicated his Man of the Match award to his first captain, which was Asghar Afghan. DK, just your final thought on that particular game. There was a reason why you said you didn't think they'd get to 100, because Afghanistan are already starting to bridge that gap or widen that gulf between them and the associate nations. They used to be there not long ago.
Oh, there is no doubt that Afghanistan has come up by leaps and bounds. They got their test status in 2018 and they have never looked back. Over a period of time, they played some solid white ball cricket. And, we keep speaking about India, New Zealand, India, New Zealand. I do believe that if Afghanistan, find that they're already bowling, they have fire in the belly, they're doing really well for themselves. If they somehow find a way to eclipse one of India or New Zealand, they'd be on a pretty good ground as well. And they could very much, with their run rate, it'll be hard to catch up for anybody. So it's going to be a very interesting couple of games. It's great for Afghan cricket where they've taken their game. And, when it comes to associate nations, they seem to be steamrolling opponents. And also the test nations, which have really not stood up over a period of time, like the Zimbabwe's, the Irelands, the Scotlands, they seem to, find ways to literally demolish them every time they've seen. So it's good. I think that's very good for international cricket. They're constantly competing. The more they play, the better they will get. And you can see they play to their strengths and, they're very confident about their abilities. And that says a lot every time they win the toss and bat. In a tournament where every captain has decided to bowl second, Afghanistan has stood out and batted first and trusted their abilities to deliver with the ball.
And let's not forget, even against Pakistan, they pushed them and really made them sweat for that victory. So full credit to Afghanistan for today's victory and for their performance in the tournament. Looking ahead to a single header, a rare breather for everyone involved in the tournament. It's not a double header. It's a night game from Sharjah. This is England taking on Sri Lanka. England riding high. Sri Lanka will be gutted with that loss against South Africa. It looked as if they had the match in control. Along comes David Miller, vintage David Miller, the one we used to remember. Hits 2 monster sixes, and then Rabada finished it off with a 6 earlier and then a 4. DK, starting with Sri Lanka, I mean, they will have to quickly turn around and recover from that, because they've done a few things right in the tournament, but they've just lost at that crucial stage.
Yeah, I feel sad for Sri Lanka. I think they played some really good cricket, solid cricket. They chased down 170 in Sharjah against Bangladesh. They've done really well for themselves. Just almost crossed the line, but South Africa somehow pipped them at the post in the last game. Killer Miller was back in action, a couple of lovely shots. But overall, as I said, I expect more out of the first 2 names that we see on screen, Avishka Fernando and Kusal Pereira. If they can come to the party, Sri Lanka will definitely do much better because for in many ways their batting has been the not the strongest suit, so to say. That Sri Lanka is batting really well and a couple of others as well. But if Kusal Pereira and Avishka Fernando find a way to get their form back and do well for Sri Lanka, it'll enhance their chances. And they're coming up against a team who are on an absolute roll. They're batting well, they're fielding brilliantly, and their bowling probably is the best in the tournament overall as a team. So they have a lot to compete against, and it'll be very interesting to see where they stand against a solid England team.
Yeah, I mean the way England have put out their 11, Zaheer, I don't think the likes of Tom Curran or David Willey, who haven't got into the 11, I think they're going to be doing drinks duties for a while.
Well, this team has not been challenged in this tournament so far, isn't it? I thought Australia game to a certain degree with Mitchell Stark's form coming back, Pat Cummins, Josh Hazelwood, maybe Zampa. Some kind of troubles for this England team, or some kind of challenge for this England team, but none were presented. So I think this team is on a roll. The only thing going in Sri Lanka's favor is they're playing in Sharjah. So Sharjah is not ideal kind of a pitch to just go and keep on playing that kind of cricket. So we'll have to see how England team adapts, how their batters adapt to this condition. That is going to be only factor. If they adapt to it, then I think England as favorites in this tournament, their percentage is certainly going to be increased, because then it's not only a team which is playing in a certain way, but it's going to be a team which can adapt to situations as well and conditions as well. So that's the lens I'm bringing out for tomorrow's game. I want to see England closely, that how they adapt to the conditions, and from Sri Lanka's point of view, I think their batting has shown that intent. That's the way they've won that game was through batting. Bowling has been on and off for them. So from their point of view, Chamira needs to come to the party. Lahiru Kumara is still inexperienced, I would say. He needs to figure things out with regard to his options, and the learning curve is going to be there for him. But apart from that, it's going to be before the game starts. It's still going to be advantage England. We'll have to see how Sri Lanka puts up a show, because their intent so far I've liked in the tournament.
Yep, and that's something you've praised as well, DK. One final thought. I know we said it before Sri Lanka's last game. Are they going to get an extra spinner in? Should they get an extra spinner in? Theekshana's had lots of potential. Everyone's talking about him, but he's not come to the party yet. Hasaranga's been outstanding. And do they need a little bit more against England, if anything, vulnerable against spin in Sharjah?
Yeah, I think it's always a toss-up between Akila Dhananjaya and Theekshana. And Theekshana has done well in the group stages before the qualifiers that they played. He did well against, obviously, associate nations. But, when I saw him bowling against South Africa, I wasn't that impressed, because he was bowling slightly short. They were playing him a lot of the back foot. He wasn't brave enough to bowl it slightly fuller to get them to play a shot and get a wicket. He was rather defensive with his methodology, which is fine. If but in a low scoring total, sometimes you have to be brave enough to get your variations and bowl that bit fuller, so that the batsman has to hit a shot more of the front foot than of the back foot, because on a slow wicket it's easier to play off the back foot. Anyways, without getting too technical, Akila Dhananjaya is the only option, and hopefully if he gets a game in, it'll be good to watch as well. He's somebody who can bowl off spin, and he's got the ability to bowl a leg spin as well. So it'll be interesting, though I really doubt it. I do think that Sri Lanka will stick to the 11 that they played, knowing that they pushed South Africa, and they would like to do the same to England. But I do think England is in the driving seat, starting in Sharjah.
Yeah, I could just see Dinesh Karthik turning from expert and commentator to wicketkeeper there, as he's thinking of a mystery spinner, what he could do to him, how he's going to keep to him, and therefore what he's going to make instructions in terms of the batsman. I love the way you change roles, DK. All right. Now, the one thing that stumped all of us, no pun intended, was, of course, Joy's question. It always does. And this time around, I must confess, I hadn't even a clue where to head in the world of cricket. What happened a total of 7 times on the 26th of December, 1995. We have things that happen once, twice, thrice, but 7 times? Well, let's go straight to the answer, because it's definitely got me stumped. And was it like a big batting day? Did we have 700s? Ah, there it is. Muralidharan no-balled by Daryl Hare for an illegal action. 7 times on that day. Oh dear, I couldn't figure that one out. I was thinking of batting records different parts of the world, people scoring hundreds in the same day. But it was far from that. It was Muralidharan and the no ball. And who spotted that on that particular date? Let's go straight to our winner. And our winner is Manan Mehta, a cricket nuffy who probably gets his last name mentioned like this, after which he goes into our Hall of Fame to join Tonmoy, and you'll get an honorable mention, Manan. And after that, we'll see who's just after you to try and make sure everybody else gets a chance. Well, it's been a long day, a long Sunday, a Halloween that didn't turn out to be a happy Halloween for India or for Namibia. Disappointing, but head held high, chin up. And that's what the message is to all on social media, to all the fans out there. That's the way it is. India's played for a long time. They play under a lot of pressure, and it's the baggage that comes with it. Thank you, Zaheer Khan. Thank you, Dinesh Karthik, for always being forthcoming with your views. And of course, thank you all for joining us. We'll see you very soon as the World Cup continues on Cricbuzz Live.